Hello, my name is Ruben Munoz, and I'll be doing my presentation tonight on the San Francisco earthquake of 1906. A little bit of history about San Francisco. So, San Francisco was a booming cosmopolitan city that had grown during the economic boom times of the late 19th century, due mostly in part to the gold rush. The town was home to about 400,000 people at the time of this earthquake and was just great. It was just a phenomenal place to be. I mean, San Francisco was where you wanted to be. In fact, on April 17, 1906, the tech reports that the greatest tenor of the world at the time, Enrico Caruso, performed with the Metropolitan Opera and just filled the city with joy. People were just happy. They were feeling alive. And I say all that to say that no one in a million years could have expected that a catastrophe or a natural disaster like this was getting ready to strike. And yet, a few hours later, on April 18th, 1906, this earthquake was ranked in at an 8.3 on the Richter scale. So the magnitude of this earthquake was just huge. It was just destructive. And it came in and it just devoured things. Witnesses report that the waves just rose and fell like a wave coming towards the beach. And the unreinforced masonry buildings were just crushed to the ground. Steel structures and wooden buildings fared a little bit well, but the masonry buildings were completely devoured, just destroyed in rubble. It is one important thing to note here is that a lot of the damage to these buildings had a lot to do with the building foundation and what ground that they were built on. So a lot of these buildings were built on artificial fills that were once the Marina Bay and also hand carved ravines. So they were filled in with this artificial land and they just couldn't withstand the whole. When they started to shake, everything just crumbled and just fell underneath them and caused mass destruction and death. But that was not the worst of it. In fact, the fires in this event claimed 10,000, excuse me, 10 times more damage. And there are reports that up to 500 blocks were just incinerated and destroyed by the fires. Water systems ruptured, and firefighters became desperate and resorted to using dynamite. The textbook states that the citizens became so desperate that they started to use dynamite to try to put out the fiery buildings, only to find out that the dynamite worked against them. And in fact, the debris from the buildings was like fuel to the fires, causing more flames, more damage. Other reports state that flying debris, which flew about a block or so away, would start fires in different parts of the town as the debris that was flying was still on fire. And the financial losses in this event were huge. They were averaged out to about 2% of the U.S. gross national product in 1906, which is a lot of money. If we were to put that in today's dollars, I mean, just think of Katrina, which cost us, millions of dollars or more, and had to get FEMA involved and everything like that. That disaster was only half of 1% of the financial losses that this place was. And the death rates were horrendous. They were just rising. At the head of the epicenter alone, there were 315 deaths in San Francisco, another 700 deaths on the 256-mile long belt land that ran parallel with the San Andreas Fault. Cities like San Jose were hit hard, and problems just continued. I mean, there were 150 cases of the bubonic plague and the filth-borne diseases that sickened California, along with the injuries from the earthquake and other parts of the fire, totaled out to about 5,000 deaths in this disaster. And that's just a lot of people. And when you think about this number, you have to really consider the fact that Mexicans and Chinese were not even considered in these calculations because they were not even a part of the 1906 census. And then there's the cover up, of course. So we're talking about a city that's booming. It's alive. It's flooded with money. Everyone wants to be here. So the forefathers, what do? They get afraid and they begin an active cover up immediately. They labeled this disaster a fire and gave not too many more details than that. They start to dump the debris from the earthquake into the bay of the Marina District, which became quicksand later in the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake. And another good thing to point out here is that scientists, this is a big earthquake for scientists because this is where they discovered the elastic rebound theory and also found the San Andreas fault. However, scientists were upset and reported that their work was hampered with and that it was censored to minimize the destruction of this earthquake. And that's all that I have for you today. Thank you. Appreciate your time.